In 1460, a monk arrived in Florence carrying something that would change the course of Western civilization. Not gold, not weapons, not political documents, a manuscript. Specifically, a Greek manuscript containing texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, dialogues between the ancient Egyptian sage and his disciples on the nature of God, cosmos, and human consciousness. Cosimo de Medici, the most powerful man in Florence, had sent agents across the known world searching for this very text. When it arrived, he did something extraordinary. He ordered his translator, Marsilio Ficino, to stop translating Plato, the greatest philosopher in the Western tradition, and translate the Hermetic texts immediately. Think about that. The Renaissance was being built on recovering Greek philosophy. Plato was the foundation. Yet Cosimo considered these Hermetic texts more important. Why? Because the Corpus Hermeticum contained something Western philosophy and Christianity had suppressed: direct teaching on Gnosis, unmediated knowledge of the divine accessible to any human through consciousness transformation. These texts taught that divinity resides within human consciousness, not exclusively in external saviors. Salvation comes through knowledge, Gnosis, not just faith. Humans are divine by nature, not fallen by sin. The cosmos is mental, not just physical. Direct mystical experience is possible and encouraged. Do you see why this was dangerous? This wisdom threatened every power structure built on human dependence, on priests mediating between person and God, on doctrine controlling access to salvation, on sin requiring institutional redemption. The Corpus Hermeticum had been banned by early church councils, dismissed as pagan heresy, and nearly lost to history. Its recovery sparked the Renaissance, humanity's reawakening from the intellectual darkness of the medieval period. Today, we're entering these texts directly, not summaries, not interpretations, the actual dialogues between Hermes and his students. What you're about to discover challenged the foundations of organized religion, inspired the greatest minds of the Renaissance, and contains mystical wisdom that transforms everyone who truly understands it. This is not history. This is initiation. The Corpus Hermeticum is a collection of 17 Greek treatises written between the 1st and 3rd centuries CE in Roman Egypt, specifically in Alexandria, the cosmopolitan hub where Egyptian religion, Greek philosophy, Jewish mysticism, and early Christianity all intersected and cross-pollinated. These are dialogues, conversations between Hermes Trismegistus, the teacher, representing accumulated Egyptian wisdom, his disciples, primarily Tat, his son, Asclepius, and Ammon. The format is initiatory. Each treatise addresses a seeker's question and gradually reveals deeper understanding. The 17 treatises: 1. Poimandres, the shepherd of men, or the vision. 2. To Asclepius, on the cosmos. 3. The sacred discourse, on rebirth. 4. The mixing bowl, the crater. 5. That God is invisible and yet visible. 6. That the good is in God alone. 7. That the greatest evil in man is ignorance. 8. That none of the things that are perishes. 9. On understanding and sensation. 10. The key. 11. Mind to Hermes. 12. On the common mind. 13. The secret sermon on the mountain on rebirth. 14. Health of the mind, letter to Asclepius. 15 and 16. Fragments, often not included in translations. 15. To Tat, the perfect sermon. plus one additional text, often included, Asclepius, Latin Hermetic dialogue, slightly different tradition. Egyptian roots, 3000 BCE to 300 BCE. The wisdom attributed to Hermes draws from authentic Egyptian temple teachings, Thoth Beauty traditions, Memphis theology, Hermopolitan cosmology, and mystery school initiation practices. Greek synthesis, 300 BCE to 100 CE. After Alexander conquered Egypt, 332 BCE, Greek philosophy merged with Egyptian religion. Plato's metaphysics plus Egyptian mysticism, Stoic ethics plus Egyptian priestly wisdom, Pythagoreanism plus Egyptian mathematics. Roman period composition, 1st to 3rd centuries CE, the actual Corpus Hermeticum texts written during this period, synthesizing centuries of oral tradition into written dialogues. Early Christian era, 1st to 4th centuries CE, Hermeticism competed with Christianity, influenced early Gnostic Christianity, but was ultimately rejected by Orthodox Church. Why Hermeticism was banned. 325 CE, Council of Nicaea. Christianity standardizes doctrine and begins identifying heresies. Early Church Fathers' critiques. Tertullian condemned Hermetic texts as demonic. Augustine initially interested but later rejected them as spiritually dangerous. Lactantius praised Hermetic monotheism but rejected its mysticism. The core threat was that Hermeticism taught Gnosis, direct knowledge, rather than pistis, faith. This made priests and bishops unnecessary as intermediaries. 391 CE, destruction of the Library of Alexandria and pagan temples, most Hermetic texts lost. 4th to 6th centuries, Hermetic texts survive only in Byzantine monasteries, Greek copies, Islamic translations preserved by Arab scholars, and secret study by underground mystics. 1453, fall of Constantinople, Byzantine scholars flee west carrying manuscripts. 1460, Greek Corpus Hermeticum manuscript reaches Cosimo de Medici. 1463, Marsilio Ficino completes Latin translation. Result, Hermeticism explodes across Renaissance Europe. Pico della Mirandola synthesizes Hermeticism with Kabbalah. Giordano Bruno teaches Hermetic cosmology publicly, burned for it, 1600. John Dee practices Hermetic magic, influences the Elizabethan era. Paracelsus applies Hermetic principles to medicine. Isaac Newton secretly studies alchemy and Hermetic texts. The Renaissance itself was a Hermetic revival. The rebirth was partly recovery of this ancient wisdom. The first and most important treatise is Poimandres, sometimes Poimander. The name means shepherd of men or knowledge of Ra. This text describes Hermes' mystical vision of creation and humanity's origin. It's the cosmological foundation for all later Hermetic teaching. The text opens, "Once, when thought came to me of the things that are, and my thinking soared high, and my bodily senses were restrained, like someone heavy with sleep from too much eating or toil of the body, I seemed to see an enormous being completely unbounded in size, who called my name and said to me, 'What do you wish to hear and see and to learn and know by thinking?'" Analysis. This is mystical experience, not philosophy. Hermes achieves altered state through contemplation. The enormous being is Poimandres, identified as the divine mind, the intelligence of the cosmos itself. The being asks permission to teach. True gnosis must be voluntarily received, not imposed. Poimandres then reveals the creation process. Stage 1, the source. Infinite light, the good, the one, God. Darkness and watery substance exist as potential. Stage 2, the Word. A holy word, logos, descends from the light. Fire leaps upward, the higher elements. Earth and water remain below, the lower elements. Stage 3, the 7 governors. 7 cosmic powers emerge, governing fate and planetary spheres. These are the 7 classical planets: Moon, Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. They create cycles, time, generation, and destruction. Stage 4, the Word creates nature. The Word impregnates nature, matter. Nature brings forth irrational creatures, animals, plants. Hermetic insight. Creation is emanation, not creation from nothing. All things flow from the one source through stages of density. Spirit becomes matter. Here comes the most extraordinary part. The anthropos, cosmic human. But mind, God, being male and female as life and light, brought forth by a word another mind, a craftsman, who as God of fire and spirit crafted 7 governors. They encompass the sensible world in circles, and their government is called fate. Then, but mind, the father of all, being life and light, brought forth a human being like himself, and he loved him as his own child. This cosmic human, anthropos, mirrors the divine mind, contains all creative powers, possesses beauty reflecting divine beauty. The descent. The anthropos looks down through the spheres and sees nature, matter, below. Nature looks up and sees the beautiful form reflected in water and falls in love with it. The anthropos desires to create in matter, descends through the 7 planetary spheres, each leaving a quality, and unites with nature. Result? Humanity, beings with divine origin trapped in material form. Why this matters? This explains why humans are divine. We originate from divine mind, not from dust or sin. Why we're in matter, not as punishment, but as voluntary descent for experience. Why we suffer. We've forgotten our divine nature, identifying with body rather than spirit. The path forward. Remember, awaken, return to consciousness of divine origin. This is Gnostic Christianity's core teaching and why it was suppressed. Poimandres then describes what happens at death to one who has gained Gnosis. The ascent through the spheres. As the enlightened soul ascends through the 7 planetary spheres, each sphere takes back what it gave. Moon, growth and decay. Mercury, schemes and trickery. Venus, sexual desire. Sun, ambition for power. Mars, audacity and aggression. Saturn, falsehood. What remains after shedding these planetary influences? Pure consciousness, the divine nature uncontaminated by material desires. This soul then enters the octoad, 8th sphere, beyond the 7, becoming pure divinity, hearing the powers, singing hymns to the Father. Finally, it merges with God, becoming one with the divine mind. The promise? This is the good end for those who have gained knowledge, to be made divine. Theological dynamite. Salvation is not granted by external Savior, but achieved through knowledge, Gnosis. Humans don't need redemption from sin, but awakening from ignorance. The goal isn't eternal worship, but union with God, becoming divine. No wonder the Church banned this. While Poimandres provides the cosmological foundation, the other treatises elaborate specific aspects of Hermetic wisdom. The teaching. God created a crater, mixing bowl, filled with mind, nous, and sent it down to earth with a herald proclaiming, Baptize yourself in this crater if you can, you who believe you will return to the one who sent it, you who know why you have come to be. What this means. The crater is consciousness itself, available to all who choose to immerse themselves in it. Those who baptize themselves gain Gnosis. Those who don't remain in ignorance. Critical point. Gnosis is accessible to everyone, but it requires active choice and effort. No external authority grants it. The profound statement. For the beginning of piety is knowledge of God. None of the things that are perishes, but humans mistakenly call changes, destructions, and deaths. The teaching. Ignorance, agnoia, is the only true evil. Knowledge, Gnosis, is the only salvation. What we call death is merely transformation. Fear of death comes from ignorance of the soul's immortality. Application. Most human suffering stems from ignorance of our true nature. We identify with the temporary, body, personality, circumstances, rather than the eternal, consciousness, divine spark. Enlightenment is simply correcting this misidentification. A short but powerful text describing three types of humanity. Those ruled by body, asleep. Those ruled by soul, awakening. And those ruled by spirit, awakened. The key to transformation. If you do not make yourself equal to God, you cannot understand God, for like is understood by like. Revolutionary implication? You don't understand God by being subservient, small, sinful. You understand God by recognizing your divinity, by becoming equal to what you seek to know. This is heresy to Orthodox religion, but the core of mysticism. Hermes asks mind, nous, direct questions, and mind answers. On human nature. The human being is a marvel, Hermes, a being worthy of reverence and honor, for he goes into the nature of a god as if he were himself a god. He is a brother to the divine order. Humans are not fallen creatures needing salvation, but divine beings temporarily experiencing limitation. On the path, the soul is by nature immortal. The human being, then, is defined by having knowledge and mind, and he is capable of sharing in God's nature. Immortality is inherent, not granted. Knowledge activates what's always been true. Perhaps the most mystical treatise describing the process of spiritual regeneration. The dialogue. Tot says, "Father, you speak in riddles." Hermes says, "I speak of that which cannot be told, son. The birth in God is beyond words. It must be experienced." The process. Hermes describes how one is reborn through Gnosis. 10 powers drive out 12 torments. The 12 torments, ignorance, grief, incontinence, lust, injustice, greed, deceit, envy, treachery, anger, rashness, malice, are expelled by 10 powers: knowledge, joy, continence, endurance, justice, generosity, truth, good, life, and light. The result. This is the manner of rebirth, son. The one reborn beholds a God of his own and rejoices. You become divine through conscious transformation, shedding material identification, integrating spiritual powers. The 5 reasons for suppression. 1. Undermined ecclesiastical authority. If Gnosis is directly accessible, you don't need priests mediating between you and God, sacraments granting salvation, church doctrine defining truth, or institutional hierarchy controlling spiritual access. The entire power structure becomes optional. 2. Challenged the doctrine of original sin. Christianity taught humanity is fallen, sinful, requiring redemption. Hermeticism taught humanity is divine,
temporarily in matter, requiring awakening. These are incompatible. If humans are inherently divine, the guilt-based control mechanism collapses. 3. Offered salvation through knowledge. Christianity, salvation through faith in Christ. Hermeticism, salvation through gnosis, direct knowledge. Faith requires submission to doctrine. Gnosis requires personal transformation through understanding. One creates dependence, the other creates sovereignty. 4. Taught mystical experience over belief. The Corpus Hermeticum prioritizes direct experience of the divine over acceptance of dogma. This is dangerous to any system built on controlling belief. 5. Connected to pagan Egypt. Early Christianity defined itself partly by rejecting pagan religion. Hermetic texts came from Egyptian tradition, making them guilty by association. Never mind that the philosophy was sophisticated, it had Egyptian origins, therefore it was damned. Renaissance philosophy, 15th to 16th century. Marsilio Ficino's translations sparked Neoplatonic revival. Pico della Mirandola synthesized Hermeticism, Kabbalah, and Christianity. Giordano Bruno taught openly Hermetic cosmology, paid with his life. Alchemy and Hermeticism, 16th to 18th century. Paracelsus applied Hermetic principles to medicine. Robert Fludd created Hermetic cosmological diagrams. Isaac Newton secretly studied Hermetic alchemy alongside physics. Rosicrucian and Masonic traditions, 17th to 19th century. Secret societies preserved Hermetic teachings. Initiated members studied Corpus Hermeticum as sacred text. Symbols and rituals encoded Hermetic philosophy. Modern spirituality, 19th to 21st century. Theosophy incorporated Hermetic teachings. The new thought movement drew from Hermetic principles. Jung's psychology deeply influenced by Hermeticism, and contemporary mysticism and consciousness studies continue the tradition. The wisdom never died, it went underground and resurfaces whenever conditions allow. Augustine of Hippo initially praised the Hermetic texts, seeing them as prophecy of Christianity. Then, in his later work, City of God, he reversed position, claiming demons wrote the texts to deceive Christians. Why the reversal? Theory 1. Political pressure from emerging church orthodoxy. Theory 2. Recognition that Hermetic gnosis undermined church authority. Theory 3. Genuine theological conviction that salvation through knowledge was heretical. Regardless, Augustine's condemnation gave permission for centuries of suppression.
1. Contemplative meditation. Like Hermes' vision in Poimandres, achieve altered states through focused contemplation on divine nature, withdrawing senses from external stimuli, opening consciousness to receive gnosis. Modern application: daily meditation practice focused on witnessing consciousness, not achieving anything. 2. Study and reflection. The texts aren't meant for passive reading, but active contemplation. Choose a passage, sit with it for days or weeks. Let meaning reveal itself gradually. Discuss with others on the path. Modern application: join study groups, online communities, Discord, discussion forums. 3. Ethical purification. Treatise 13 describes driving out the 12 torments through 10 powers. This isn't automatic. It requires conscious identification of negative patterns. active cultivation of virtuous qualities. Gradual transformation of character. Modern application: shadow work, therapy, personal development integrated with spiritual practice. 4. Recognition of divinity. The ultimate practice: remembering your divine nature. If you do not make yourself equal to God, you cannot understand God. Not arrogance, recognition of truth. Modern application: affirmations, visualization, identity work that shifts from I am limited to I am consciousness, experiencing limitation temporarily. Hermeticism offers a structured path. Stage 1: ignorance. Yes, they are actual ignoiaosis. Identification with body, personality, circumstances. Sleep. Stage 2: seeking. Recognition that something is wrong. The call to awakening. Beginning study and practice. Stage 3: Gnosis. Direct knowledge of divine nature. The aha moment of recognition, usually temporary at first. Stage 4: rebirth. Sustained transformation. Living from Gnosis rather than ignorance. The 12 torments expelled. Stage 5: union. Complete merger with divine mind. The goal described in Poimandres. Rare, but possible. Where are you on this path?
The Corpus Hermeticum is not a relic of dead religion. It's a living transmission of Gnosis, knowledge that transforms everyone who truly receives it. These dialogues between Hermes and his disciples weren't written for ancient Alexandrians. They were written for you, the seeker in any age who feels the call to awaken. What makes these texts dangerous to institutional power is what makes them essential for individual liberation. They teach that divinity is your nature, not your distant hope. They teach that knowledge liberates, not faith in external saviors. They teach that transformation is possible, not permanent brokenness. They teach that direct experience trumps doctrine. They teach that you are consciousness exploring itself temporarily through material form. This wisdom threatened empires and religions for 2,000 years. And it's yours, now, freely. The Corpus Hermeticum is available in multiple translations. Buy it. Read it slowly. Contemplate it deeply. Discuss it with community. Practice what it teaches. Don't just study Hermeticism. Become Hermetic, a knower, a practitioner of Gnosis, a transformed consciousness recognizing its divine nature. As Poimandres taught Hermes, this is the good end for those who have gained knowledge, to be made divine. The texts were banned. The wisdom survived. The Gnosis awaits. Will you receive it? This is knowledge of the all, where the forbidden wisdom speaks.